but it's not acknowledging where we are, which is a difficult thing. The importance of you knowing where you are today, because you don't know where you are, you're not going to be able to attend to what's showing up because you can't see it. So being with that therapist for 3 months was literally the feeling of a cloud, coming off and the sunshine coming back to my head. As soon as I start feeling better, my ex-husband got transferred to Dubai. And I was like, I'm not going. I'm happy here. You can't do this to me. Off I went one more time to a completely different scenario. And again, one more time I adapted. So I think it's like asking for help in whatever shape or form. I would say that is the best way forward. Trying to do things alone and believing that you're the only one feeling that, you're not that special. We're human. We share the same pain. It might look different to me, but you and I feel the same things inside, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. And what you mentioned very important is when you go through that change or whatever change that you're going through, it's very important to know where you are. And I want to ask, when you talk about knowing where you are, I mean physically, location, or what was that about?
Whenever you ask someone, how are you? The question is, I'm fine. And I'm not saying that you're going to pour your life to every single person that asks you, how are you? But how are you and I'm fine, it's a question that gives you no information at all that's useful. This is information to get rid of your neighbor. Fair enough. Hi, I'm good. And you good? Great. Have a good day. You go. Right? Because that's not a place for that. But I always ask people, how are you? And we break it down. Before you give me, I'm fine, I want to know how you feel in your physical body. Because there's a lot of hints in the body. So I'm good. Like right now, I can tell you, I'm feeling super happy to be sitting here. And as I breathe and I pay attention to my body, I notice that my lower back is there. I can feel my lower back. And what does that mean? If we understand psychology of the body, say, okay, maybe I'm feeling a little bit like my lower back is not safe, or there's something around safety and security that this morning is not working well for me. I can investigate that later on. So where are the hints of how are you? Is your physical body and the quality of your breath. And as you said before, when we were just touching base before, your body will never lie. Your interpretations of your body, that's on you. And we don't see, and we can make funky interpretations about things. So observing fluidity of the breath and where your breath goes, if it's in the chest, if it's really on the side of your rib cage, if you're flowing through the belly, contracted, too expanded, too much holding, super fast release, all of that becomes information. And the closer you are, the more intimate you are with yourself, it's so easy to reset your system. It's just practice like everything else. So it's what's my mind's feeling like. Oh, my mind is really sharp. I'm really awake. Okay. My breath is quite fluid and my lower back is here. So this is the how are you question for me. And this is my starting point.
And it's so true, because I feel that, including myself, for the longest time, I'm so disconnected with my body. And I stay here a lot. And here always have lies and, you know, what's not. But my body never lies, and I have these tools that I never use. And what you say is knowing where you are is to coming back to your body is super good tools. But people need to learn how to understand their body as well. What is your method of learning about your body, and how did you come through that?
One of the things that you said about being too much here, very unfortunately, I think we were trained generations and generations to disconnect. And the more connected you are, the more true to yourself you will be. And the less it's not likely that people can manipulate you to do things that are off your heart if you're very connected. When we look at a society that I have a firm belief and desire that all this turbulence that we're living in the world are making a big amount of people to stop and rethink. Now, when we talk about shopping, and you and I met in Dubai, which is a huge place of shopping and glitz and glamour. But when we start looking at things from a different perspective, that's more calm and steady, this is very different. It becomes something very different. The question is, how do people start understanding where the starting point is? So I'll give you another analogy. I have an MBA on environmental management, and I am totally in love with this concept of how do you manage the environment. One of the things that I noticed when I was thinking about, like, how do I apply environmental management to humans? And it's exactly the same thing. The first thing that you do in environmental management is site analysis. We are a site. There is an internal site going on all the time, right? So what does that really mean? In site analysis is basically sitting where you are. For the person and for the land is the same thing, and observing, where does the wind blow? Where does the sun come? Digging your hands into the earth. Do we have river passing through? We don't. What's the story of that land? So the story of the land is something super important because it does charge the land with a specific energy. And this is exactly what happens with human beings. So coming to our starting point of the internal site analysis is, what's the story of my land? When you talk about this, it's story, which there are facts. This happened to me. I got married, I moved countries, I had a baby. This is a fact. Nobody can say I didn't because it's a fact. However, the story that I created around the facts, that this is all on me. And this I made true for myself for I don't know how many years. So I always say that you cannot grow if you don't question your certainties and if you don't reevaluate the stories that you're telling yourself about facts that happened in your life. Otherwise, you will be a full-on machine of repeat. That's it. So starting from where we are with what we have is my biggest mantra. That's it. We start right here. You know, I can't want to be someone that I'm not yet. I have a vision of this woman, but here is what I have for me today.
Yeah.
How? Basics of the basics of the basics. And people, and I think it becomes something so ordinary that loses power, which is mindfulness. Being mindful of everything. Mindful of your connection with yourself and mindful to where your anger patterns are, where your joy patterns are. And we wake up to meet joy. I wake up to meet joy. I'm tired of meeting these other things. Like, okay, I'm done with you. I think basically is for people that have no idea, no concept of what is an internal site and how do I feel. And when you talk about embodiment and is really coming back to the physicality. I always believe that physical practices help you come back to your body. Whether you're going to run, whether you're going to do apnea diving, or you're going to do yoga, I don't know. I don't know what works for you. Sitting down with closed eyes and Vipassana style is not for everyone. Yeah. There's no one thing.
Yeah.
But figuring out things that can make you feel that sense of calm, you know, and more integrated in your body.
Definitely, like it's just an encouragement for people to start moving their body. I think that movement is important. Like if you like dancing, go dance, be in that moment, right? And talking about lessons, like what is one of your biggest challenge or lesson in life that you have learned throughout these years and you would like to share with us?
What I have learned is that human beings are pathetically simple and incredibly the same. And when we talk about one race, it's all true. It's all true. So I was blessed. I do this job for 13 years now. So I don't know. The other day I counted, I was doing something and I had it to count, and it has been over 10,000 hours and over 10,000 people in 13 years. So different races and cultures and financial backgrounds and you name it, it's just been so eclectic and so rich in that way. And nobody sat ever in front of me and said, I'm feeling a bit plaque plunk today. Human beings don't feel that. They feel sad, they feel happy. I don't care how rich you are. You are not going to surprise me. And it's not from arrogance. And I always say, people suffer for 5 reasons. We are not creative in our suffering. We have elected things. You know, like I call the pillars, we have elected those pillars that we hold on to, even if it's unconscious, but it is there. So I think my biggest learning in all of these years is like, why is it so precious to know that? If I know that you cannot possibly feel anything that I don't know, you are like me. When I'm sitting with you in a conversation, you're never going to be able to threaten me or rattle me because you are exactly the same. So coming from a place of equality, I'm not below, I'm not above, and I can connect. Connection happens from a place of vulnerability, right? And
Yeah.
what's more vulnerable than knowing that there's no distance between in
Mhm.
our humanness? There's no distance between you and I. It can't be,
Mhm.
you know?
So what I hear is that when you say we equal, we are the same, it's coming from a space of the emotion, the feelings, and then the struggles that we have, rather than the physical parts. And if you can connect with that person and say, I know you're sad and I know how it feels like to be that sadness, or I know you're angry and I understand how to be angry and how angry can feel in my body, that create a channel for the people to.
Absolutely. There's a place of connection when we can hold space for each other, you know, to be where we are without having to make stories about how you feel and how I feel. Like, oh, you know, today you might be in a sad place. I'm like, well, I can see you're in a sad place.
Yeah. And holding space for ourselves and for others so important. This is something I wish I learned it in school. Like there's a lot of lessons in life that I wish they teach us in school. Tell us a little bit about holding space. What is it?
And I think holding space, people that hold space for themselves and others, it always comes from a place of being centered. You can possibly not be able to be, for me, holding space for someone is to be present, is to understand. Sometimes holding space is just being quiet. Sometimes someone is having a full blowout, and the best thing that you can do for them and for yourself is just be quiet.
Yeah.
You know, and try to, you know, surround them with love, try to ground them from your feet. You're doing it with your mind. That's holding space, you know. And it's not being permissive or allowing people to just do what they want to do. You know, there's
Yeah.
something sacred of calling someone forth and saying, oh, this is not okay. This
Yeah.
doesn't work for me.